This is 7 News High School Red Zone Review Preview.
Hi everybody and welcome in. Good to have you on board on WSPA.com and on WSPA Plus. We're getting ready for week number 9 in the high school red zone. It feels like football weather out there. Had some great games so far this season. Got a lot of good stuff in store on Friday night. But we also are looking back to week number 8. And let's begin that with some big battles in Region 2-5A last Friday. None bigger than the renewal of the rivalry between Dorman and Spartanburg. Well, a Vikings team that was trying to make it 5 straight in the series. They got a big game out of their junior running back, Trenton Lynch. That 83-yard sprint late in the first quarter snapped a 7-all tie. Spartanburg moved ahead. 5 seconds to go before the break. Meek Slidell, first-year starter for Dorman at QB. Nick Means on the receiving end. 23-yard score. It was 23-21 Spartanburg at the break. Early third quarter, Isaac Tate, part of that nice tandem out of the backfield with Means. And Dorman had a 27-23 lead. Early fourth, Vikings take advantage of a Cavs turnover. There's Lynch, who had 252 yards rushing on the night and 4 touchdowns. Cavaliers then get a tying field goal midway through the fourth quarter from Ransom Farr. It evened up at 30 apiece, but the Vikings get the ball late. They put Will Love in position, and Love from 51 yards out wins it at the buzzer. What a way to cap it off. A rivalry victory, an important victory in Region 2-5A as Dorman falls in region play for the first time. Spartanburg coming away with a 3-point triumph.
No doubt he's going to make 4 or 5 50. Okay, snap, hold, kick. Don't forget everybody else up there. Okay, our guys play great. The more we play, the better we get.
For them to trust me to send me out for that field goal, that means everything to me. I really appreciate not only Coach Hodge, but the offense for getting me in a position to make a field goal.
And he was money when he needed to be. Wow. His older brother's at Virginia Tech. That's where he's going to play his college ball. Spartanburg also has the starting kicker for South Carolina. They become kicker high. Well, that win was a big one for him. Got him to 3-1 in the region. Now, had Burns won at Gaffney, you'd have a 4-way tie. First place coming out of last Friday as the Indians were trying to get to 4-0. Burns came in at 2-1. They jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Gaffney had come back to a 14-10 advantage midway through the second quarter. Later in the second, Trey Segura can't find room to run, and Ransom Mickles able to take him down. Third play of the third quarter, Gaffney up by 4 still. Banks Boughton tiptoeing on the sideline, finding a crease, 75 yards, 21-10 in favor of the Tribe. In the fourth quarter, Gaffney's up by 5 on 4th and 12, and Boughton finding Joe Bauman. That gets him a big first down. Led to a Josiah Hill touchdown to seal the deal in a 28-16 victory for the Tribe. They have won 6 out of 8 in what's been a really competitive series over the years. Here's their head coach afterward on getting another huge win in region play.
Anytime you can get a victory, regardless who the opponent is, you got to be excited about it. I mean, it is special because it's Burns. You know, our goal is to continue to try to win the conference championship. And, you know, they were a notch that we had to get, and so now we're 4-0, and that's what the goal of the night was.
Well, they achieved that goal, so they sit by themselves in first place as they've turned the corner past the midway mark of region play. They're 4-0 in Region 2-5A. This is a team that started 1-2 overall, but with Boughton leading the way at quarterback, they're now 5-2. What a huge win that was. Elsewhere in Region 1-5A, you had a big one in the Lakelands. The home of the Greenwood Eagles was the site for the Greenville Red Raiders going at it against Greenwood. Red Raiders, like Hannah, began the night unbeaten in region play. Keyshawn Farrow extending the play, finding Archishell for the touchdown, and it cut Greenwood's lead to 21-14 in the fourth quarter. But who else but Tristan Lewis helps pad that lead again. Greenwood moving on to the victory, and they hand Greenville its first loss in region play.
Overall, this was our most complete game. You know, I thought we had some guys really, you know, wanted to defend our home turf, so to speak. Yeah, it's a huge win. We told them that on Monday that this win this game right here would dictate a lot of what happens, you know, come November and December. So we really needed this one, and our guys came out and they were determined to do it, and we did it.
So Greenwood and Greenville tied in the region, second place, both at 3-1. Hannah, the first place team, they were at home against Woodmont. Hannah trying to go 16-0 all time and win a 10th consecutive region game. No trouble at all for Thomas Williams and the Yellow Jackets. Woodmont was trying to knock off a team with a winning record for the first time since August of 22, but it wouldn't happen last Friday. And Maury Nance with a touchdown, and Hannah cruising on to the win. The only unbeaten in Region 1-5A, now 4-0 after that 42-9 triumph. In Region 2-3A, we had a feeling Christchurch and Powdersville is going to be a pretty good ball game, and maybe one that would ultimately decide the region title. It lived up to the billing. Fourth quarter, Powdersville up by a point. Hampton Shields for Christchurch with a touchdown made it 28-21. Then Judd Wyndham stopped as they were trying to add to their lead later in the fourth on 4th and goal from the 1. It gave Kagan Reed and Powdersville hope, and he loads up and connects with Xavier Huggins on the long touchdown toss that tied the game at 21. It forced overtime, and what do you know, in the OT, Ethan Peel is run out there with a chance to win it, and he does. Another walk-off field goal winner last Friday night in the high school red zone. This one in eastern Anderson County at Powdersville. And the head coach had a guest in his post-game interview.
Our defense had our backs the whole night. To stop them whenever they went for it down here, that gave us a shot to have a big score. I mean, our kids resilient, never giving up. And in the man of the hour, maybe the year, who knows what, this guy's freaking money. Ethan Peel, number 16. The mic's all yours, son.
Sir.
Proud of you.
I live for these moments. It was just amazing. I love it. It's so exciting to get out here and experience this with these boys. The team, we put it all together tonight, offense, defense, special teams, and that's what we needed to win.
Thrilling moment there. Powdersville 2-0 in the region. They've won both meetings against Christchurch. Christchurch had a 5-game winning streak snapped. Last Friday began with 3 unbeaten teams in the area. BHP was idle. Among the other 2, MVP. Well, they scored early and often against Chapman. Mac Anderson with the touchdown. MVP continues on without a regular season loss in their year and a half of play. Much more on that team and their big showdown at Woodruff coming up later in the show as they cruise 50-7. And Ware Shoals, that other unbeaten, they're now 7-0 and 2-0 in Region 1-1A. They're continuing their best start since 1988 as Jaden Johnson right there with a touchdown at winless McCormick, and Ware Shoals rolled on to the victory 48-0. More games from last week in a moment, but let's talk about things we saw over the past week and as the season unfolds. Joined by Todd Summers and Mariah Ross with our roundtable. Well, both of you saw some big 5A battles last week. Todd, you've seen a million Spartanburg-Dorman games. Don't know if you've ever seen a better one than that one.
It's part of what makes that rivalry so great. You watch the game play out, it's back and forth throughout, and it comes down to the last play of the game. A 51-yard field goal from Will Love for the win. It's good, and you just see the emotion come pouring out. Coach Hodge was unbelievably fired up after that kick, and he was just so excited that Will Love made the kick, and he had complete confidence that he was going to make the kick. He's probably the best kicker in the state at the high school level, and what a football game it was. Trenton Lynch for the Vikings had 252 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. That's probably the best single performance I've seen all year long. And Dorman was trading blows with them. I mean, Meek Slidell played a really solid game. Nick Means ran for over 100 yards, and it came down to the final play of the game. And you want to know why Spartanburg-Dorman is on the very short list of best rivalries in the state? All you had to do was watch that game. Spartanburg 33, Dorman 30.
And how about the fact that Spartanburg's become place kicker U with Virginia Tech's kicker, South Carolina's kicker, and now a future Virginia Tech kicker in the next love to come along. And that what an exciting way to remember his high school career. Mariah, you saw the second to last unbeaten team in Region 1-5A, Greenville. Ever since Hannah beat Greenwood in the region opener, everyone seemingly has been chasing the Yellow Jackets. But how close do you think Greenwood went on to the win? But give me a comparison on how close these two teams may be competitively, Greenwood and Greenville.
Yeah, well, just a disclaimer, I haven't seen a ton of Greenville football this year, but from what I did see, they really struggled to move the ball offensively. Keyshawn Farrow, the quarterback, was basically running for his life the entire game, and that's something we've seen him be good at. He leads the team with just under 80 yards rushing, 6 rushing touchdowns already on the season, and I actually did see him slip a tackle or kind of scramble and make a deep pass to the end zone for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter. But I think the performance speaks more to Greenwood's defense and just how well they've been playing recently. only allowing 14.6 points per game in the last 3 games, and absolutely just kind of shutting teams out at this point. Coach Chris Liner said it's the most complete game that he's seen from the Eagles so far, and having seen a good amount of them, I would agree. We've seen in like a couple games in the past that they've scored early and then kind of slowed down in the fourth quarter. We saw it against Hannah. We saw it against Boiling Springs. That was not the case in this game, and I think we're seeing them step into their potential a little bit more over at Greenwood.
Yeah, Greenwood, a dangerous team. So the week begins once again with 3 area unbeatens. BHP's number 1 in 3A, Ware Shoals number 4 in the 1A rankings, and also in 3A, the Mountain View Prep Stars, who have yet to lose a regular season game in their brief existence. Todd, you'll be covering them in a huge battle, maybe the championship game in Region 3 3A at Woodruff.
MVP is 16-0 in regular season games, 19-1 overall. I was talking with Coach Ramsey on Monday, and he said, can we take a picture of that winning percentage? Because it's never going to be that for the long haul. But, I mean, what a performance they've had putting this thing together. And it's different faces and different guys. The story we're going to do this week is on Mac Anderson. He comes from Dorman, and he's now the starting quarterback at MVP. But interestingly, his top target is Katie Hainsworth, who also came from Dorman 2 years ago when MVP was starting up. And that combination has been unbelievably special. But that combination started back at their Dorman days, and now it's carried over to MVP. So it should be a lot of fun. Last year it was 40-38. MVP knocked off Woodruff in a thriller in which Katie Hainsworth had an amazing one-handed catch in which he went like 80 yards for what proved to be the game-winning touchdown. Now you flip the script over to Woodruff, and they're pretty good as well. They're the 6th-ranked team in 3A. I was over at their practice on Monday, and Aiden Gibson is kind of the story right now because he did not play against Broome. I asked Coach about his status, and he kept saying day-to-day. He's day-to-day. He's day-to-day. He's day-to-day. I'm like, well, what is the injury? He's like, he's day-to-day. And ultimately, I got him to say that it was a leg injury, but I think because, as you alluded to, the magnitude of this game when it comes to the region standings, I think Aiden Gibson's going to play in this football game, and I think he's going to play well.
Yeah, they had the open week also this past week to get him some extra time to recuperate. Speaking of running backs, Mariah, you're going to see 2 really good ones in the area. On Friday night, you'll see Javen Cook play for Clinton, known as Zoom, and you'll see Montu Brown, who's really had a nice year for the Wren Golden Hurricanes. What can you tell me about those guys' numbers at this point?
Yeah, well, like you said, Javen Cook, a.k.a. Zoom, is 3rd in the state right now with 20 touchdowns. He already has over 1,000 all-purpose yards. And Todd, you had him for a game of the week earlier in the season and talked about him not being the biggest guy, but that kind of working to his benefit, the fact that he can hide behind the O-line and sneak into the end zone. And that's why he's not only one of the best players, running backs in the upstate, but in the entire state. And for Montu Brown, he's 14th in the state with over 1,000 yards rushing already, 13 touchdowns, and there's only one game that he rushed for under 100 yards, and that was when he rushed for 90 yards against Hannah. So very excited to see the numbers that he can put up along with Javen Cook.
Couple of good backs there. Let's show you one that she just mentioned in action last Friday. Region 1-2A Clinton trying to continue its roll through the region, and there is Javen Cook. Zoom, one of his touchdowns that has him among the state leaders. That came in the 3rd quarter, made it a 35-10 Clinton lead. Red Devils roll on to a 5th win on the season. They're 2-0 in the region. Chesney falls to 1-1. Elsewhere in Region 1-2A, Landrum at home against Blacksburg ahead of their trip to Clinton this week. They were trying to get off at 1-0 in the region as they open up region play and trying to make it 6 straight against Blacksburg. Nice run by A.J. Lindsay, but Blacksburg gets the touchdown toss late in the opening half. Jason Coffey to Jacob Gatling, and Blacksburg snaps a 10-game losing streak. That was a surprise, an upset at Landrum by a 14-6 final. When we come back, we dive into that upcoming ball game between MVP and Woodruff. They're separated by about a 15 to 20-minute drive. They played a classic a year ago. So do we call this a rivalry? That's just ahead on the Review Preview. We made a lot about where Shoals start to their season, and rightfully so. They're unbeaten. Don't forget about Abbeville in Region 1-1A last Friday night against Calhoun Falls Charter. They not only beat the Flashes for the fourth time in as many meetings with a dominant victory, but they won their 47th consecutive game against a region foe. Abbeville rolling on. They're 5-2 and 2-0. Jamie Nichols' team 63-14 winners last Friday. Welcome back to the show. Well, Woodruff and MVP sizes up to be a really good battle in Region 3-3A. The outcome could well decide who the region champ is in a couple of weeks. Here's Todd Summers with the fact you've got MVP in their second year of football. Woodruff, of course, an established program. Has this become suddenly a rivalry?
Last year, in its inaugural season, Mountain View Prep started 6-0. But head coach Gray Ramsey admits now it wasn't until week 8 in a thrilling 40-38 win over Woodruff that he knew exactly what his startup program was made of.
I think that was our first true test. That was kind of the turning point for our season and saying, oh, we know what kids we've got and who they are and how they're built. And we've been able to use that as our foundation. I think we look back at that game and say, this is who we can be. These are the types of ball games that we can compete in and that we can win in.
As Woodruff quarterback Connor Davis gets ready to face the Stars for the first time as a starter, it's the physicality of last year's game that stands out.
It was very passionate and it was like a war. It was the most physical high school football game I've ever seen, and I'm really excited to see how we respond to the physicality, and I'm really excited to experience it for myself.
While history and proximity help to explain the roots of a rivalry, when does a rivalry begin? And are the seeds being planted now for these two Region 3-3A powers?
I grew up in this area, and local rivalries were really important. And it seems like it's taken about 18 months for us to become a really important game on a lot of people's schedule.
Do you see that this is kind of a budding rivalry?
I mean, yeah, but for us, it's just the next football game, and that's what I've tried to stress to our guys. Once it's kicked off, all those things aren't going to matter anymore. What's going to matter is who executes and who doesn't execute.
The traditions here run pretty deep. It would have to make a pretty big impact to get to that level, but I could see some key pieces.
That should be a heck of a game. Another one of our newer area schools, Fountain Inn, was on the road last Friday in Region 1-4A. We already showed you, talked about the fact that they're in a battle with Wren and Westside in that region. Look at the catch by Ben Rui on the pass from Sam Holliday for the visiting Fury. That cut Wren's lead in the third quarter to 17-14, but Muntu Brown, 1,000-yard rusher, got to the end zone, and Wren going on to the victory, so they stay unbeaten in region play 45-34. They're 2-0. Westside, which began the season, you remember 0-4, was trying to win a third straight game and get to 2-0 in the region. Bearwood, succeeding his brother Cutter as the starting quarterback of the Rams, hooks up with Jacob Lewis, and Westside pulls away. Emerald had lost by a point at Wren the week before, but they get trounced on the Rams' home turf 43-7 after another long road trip for the Vikings. Lawrence, rounding out the Region 1-4A action last week, they were trying to get their first win of the year and hand Southside a 28th straight loss. Greg Porter, facing one of his former schools, got that out of Nemo Fernandez, and Lawrence moved on to the victory against Southside. Raiders now 1-6, they're 1-1 in the region. In Region 2-4A, Greer trying to extend a winning streak after they had a rough start to their season. At one point, Will Young's team was 0-4, but going at it against the Tigers, Gavin Forrester and Ja'Cory Dodd, well, they had a chance to get back to 500 overall. Dodd some good yards after the catch there, but Xavier Samet and Zay Mosley connecting, setting up a touchdown. Chase Free later took one in, and Greer made it 10 straight against their neighbors to the north, 61-21. So the Yellow Jackets, all of their wins in the region, they're now 4-0 in Region 2-4A. Meanwhile, Daniel looking to keep pace, traveling over to Travelers Rest, trying to win for a 13th straight time against the Devil Dogs. Damian Curry with this run, adding to a big lead late for the Lions. They moved on to the victory as Daniel made it a 13-game winning streak, and more importantly for this season, got to 6-1 and 3-0 as they win again and extend that long run of wins against TR. Seneca playing at Berea, 6-1 Bobcats team, 2-1 in the region. Their only loss in the season to Daniel, and you see Gavin Toma and Tristan Walker up from the JV with that connection. The big fella trying to add some yards, and then Walker does the honors on a touchdown. Seneca's won 8 out of 9. They began the night having scored 332 points on the season. They added 48 more to that, so wow, they are up close to 400 points at this point on the year through their first 8 games, and Seneca rolling along. Region 2 3A action. We showed you the thrilling win for Powdersville against Christchurch. Southside Christian went to Palmetto. Max Bright getting together with Keldon Rona, and that led on to a victory. Southside Christian winning and evening the all-time series with Palmetto at 1 apiece. 38-10. Carolina and St. Joe's also meeting in Region 2 3A, and St. Joe's now taking advantage of a bad special teams moment right there for Carolina. That was a safety. Mac Rambo and crew put a drive together. Rambo, the hard runner, got some big yards on that run to set up a Sam Patterson touchdown, and St. Joe's rolled on to the victory 59-0. On the other action in Region 2 5A, those 2 big games involving Spartanburg and Gaffney wins we showed you earlier. Boiling Springs trying to get to 2-2 and at least keep the region leaders in sight. Emory Logan to Treson Suber down to the 3. It set up a Dennis Glenn touchdown as Boiling Springs made it 7 straight wins and handed Wade Hampton a 21st straight loss overall. When we come back, we wrap up this edition of the Review Preview with our Plays of the Week. Stay tuned, it's coming up. Welcome back into the Review Preview. Had ourselves a fine week number 8. Well, let us put a bow on it as we look back on our Plays of the Week. And well, among the action, Riverside, well, they got a win at home against Eastside. It was Spirit Week, and the Riverside students raised nearly $95,000 to help veterans with housing. And not only did they celebrate on the field and almost run over the cameraman, the check then got passed through the stands. So all those students who gave money through different fundraisers in school in the week leading up to that game, they got to touch the check. But what a great effort by the kids at Riverside. Play number 4 from the Gaffney win over Burns. This was a big touchdown to pad a lead for Banks Mountain and the Tribe. And look at the nimble footwork on the sideline. And then 75 yards later, he had another rushing touchdown on the year. He's had a big season. It's been now roughly a month that he's been the go-to quarterback for Donnie Littlejohn's team, and Banks Mountain cashing in with play number 4. Play number 3, back to that Eastside game. And the Eagles tried to fake a extra point attempt at least a bad snap led to that, and as it turns out, Owen Downs and Tyrone Martin of Riverside would have none of it. They snuff it out. Good work defensively on special teams for Riverside for play number 3. Play number 2. In most weeks, this would have been play number 1. Ben Rui on the pass from Sam Holliday of Fountain Inn and their loss at Wren. Look at the catch by Rui. Defender right on him, doing everything he could for the Hurricanes. Rui was that much better with the one-handed grab in the corner. Got a foot down, or at least his elbow first, with possession. Rui turns in play number 2, but we'll call that play number 1A. What a grab. And play number 1, well, when you're playing your arch rival and you've got a 51-yarder to win it, Will Love's going to earn himself play number 1 with that clutch field goal, one of many he's had from distance for the Vikings. It gave Spartanburg another win in their series. We invite you to join us on TV at 11 o'clock on Channel 7 Friday, 11:35 on the CW, an hour to look back at week number 9 of the High School Red Zone coming up Friday night. Thanks for joining us this time on the Review Preview. Until next time, Pete Yanity saying so long.